and it becomes their identity, and they start hearing that in their heads like, oh, that's sad, like I shouldn't do that, and it actually stops them from trying to do the activity that they're interested in doing. You're gonna have to bear with me as I tell this story because I'm at 65 hours of 72-hour fast. I don't know. I'm diving. Yesterday, Zev and a friend went to the park. I took them there to get their last bits of energy out. They run and climb this massive climbing frame, and Zev is quite good at climbing. So he climbs up to the very top as high as he can, and then he hangs to is like a real scary thing. The girl comes to me and says, oh, these kids that are on the same climbing frame, they're saying I'm his girlfriend and he's my boyfriend. And okay, well, technically you guys are, friends that are boys and girls, but I can see, are they trying to make fun of you? And she's like, yeah. I said, all right, just tell them you don't want to talk to them anymore and keep playing. Like, I don't respond well to that. So she ran off and did that. I'm listening to them and I'm looking at their older kids, 10, 11 years old, and they're watching Zeb do these really tricky things, and they start like laughing at him. And then they were like, how many times have you done this? He's like, 55. And they're like, you count every time you go up there? And he's like, yeah, I do it all the time. And then they look at their friends and start laughing. He's like, that's so sad. They start like teasing him for it. Me, it could be the 48 hours of not eating, but I was like, hold on. I see the parents 4 feet away, just talking back and forth, not hearing anything that's going on here, not pulling their kid's head in. So I said to him, hey, bud, how many times have you gone up there? He said, none. I said, don't you think you should try and go up there once before saying what's sad and what's not sad? That's actually quite brave if you ask me. I'm scared to go up there. He's like, no. I said, well, do you want to try it? And he said, no. And I said, all right, then don't tell someone that's sad that's doing something they like doing. And then he kind of like looked at me and I'm like, what's up? Meanwhile, I'm like, I could eat you right now. Picked up his ball. I think he might have felt a little bit embarrassed to take it back, that someone was actually listening to what he was saying. I acknowledge that it's a low level of bullying. It's like he would live, Zev will live. But the problem is, the deeper thing is that those words sink into our kids' heads, and it becomes their identity, and they start hearing that in their heads like, oh, that's sad, like I shouldn't do that, and it actually stops them from trying to do the activity that they're interested in doing. Because other bullies may have done the same thing to him, he's now pushing it onto our kids when he could just be trying it himself, go as high as he can, not be shamed for trying something new or tricky or risky. It's like very brave what he was doing, but he couldn't even acknowledge it because he was insecure within himself. Now that's a 10-year-old. I don't know. My mom says I overreacted and that I should have left it alone, but I don't know. When we were in the car, I was giving them the talk, like, you guys know what the hardest thing you guys are gonna go through in life? Figuring out who you are and keeping it sacred so that no one can change you. That kid said what he said because probably some other kids were saying that to him, and now he'd stopped him from actually trying to climb up there. And he's 10, 11 years old, you're 7. And it's not even his fault. I'm looking at the parents like, why aren't you guys stepping in and doing this? Monitoring this, like you're seeing your kid is actually, being unkind in a deeper level. Like, I don't want him to think that he can't do something because it's not cool. They're constantly figuring out what's cool and trying to figure out what's cool and what's next. And it actually isn't what's cool. What's cool is doing something you genuinely like because it brings you happiness and it brings you joy. You'll live happily ever after if that's the case, and you try and protect that. The girl goes, actually, the hardest thing we'll have to go through in life is giving birth. And I said, fair enough, you're right.